It's the weekend at Tournament Central at Discraft's Great Lakes Open presented by Grip Discs. Moving day, they like to call Saturdays on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And there is going to be some moving today in the FPO field, no doubt about that. But who is it going to be? Grant Zellner and Brian Earhart. Brian, this is maybe a little bit of a loaded question in some ways, but with Ohn Scoggins out to a substantial lead, is this tournament already over?
No. I mean, the halfway point here does give you an idea of who is going to give themselves a shot to take down the win here, but Ohn's going to have to keep her foot on the gas if she wants to hold off some of these really dynamic players from shooting something way better than she's shot already. I mean, Ohn has said that 10 under is not out of the cards for anybody, and she's playing with a few players that definitely have the skill set to do so.
Ohn has been a model of consistency, 2 7 under par rounds to start this tournament off. She's shooting the hot round, she's limiting the OB strokes, and as usual, she's leading the field in strokes gained putting. We caught up with Ohn Scoggins at the halfway mark.
What do you do when the wind is swirling? Is there anything you really can do?
I just throw something that's super overstable, something I know is gonna come back, trash it, trash my dish, yeah. Nothing like understable, hell no. Overstable all day long. No one out there gonna change my game because whatever my competitor they throw, I'm just gonna stick with my game. If they throw a draw, I'm just gonna go with my game. I think it's very important. Like it's no, don't let anybody like change your game when you already set your mind. So that's how I do for today.
Brian, Ohn Scoggins proving that pure power alone here at the toboggan course is not the only strength. If anything, this year with the changes, it has allowed players like Ohn to show off a serious skill set. But of course, Ohn has been working on her distance, and some of that work is paying off, yeah?
Well, I was going to say, I don't like calling her a short thrower anymore. We saw that beautiful shot on hole number 3, the shot to get up to the green. That's a big backhand. The other thing is she can stretch her distance by playing smart in the wind. She plays angles really well on both sides of the disc. She can throw those little flex shots backhand. She can throw a little hyzer flip. I mean, she has the angles to play wind and stretch out 40, 50 extra feet on the backhand. So I was really impressed watching her do that. I mean, the sidearm is obviously super consistent, and she was stretching out some long flex sidearms when the wind was blowing in that right to left direction. So, man, I think she's just showing off a full skill set here. And the players who do have the raw power, like the 400 to 500 foot range, they have to use their distance wisely. They can't just get willy-nilly, so to speak, with some of these holes where the OB is going to punish you.
We were racing a weather system on day number 1, day number 2. The wind was the story. Day number 3, how are things looking there on the ground, Brian?
I am not feeling a lick of wind right now, Grant. So this could be a good thing for some players and a bad thing for others. I think a lot of people, when they come into perfect conditions, they underestimate how much more work they have to put in to score well, because the rest of the field is going to be putting their foot on the gas. And I think there's going to be more players with the capability of shooting that 5, 6, 7 under par range, but they're going to have to earn it still. I mean, this course is so challenging, and there's a few holes where almost no one in the field is birdieing.
Ella Hansen came rocketing up the leaderboard yesterday. She is in second place, 6 strokes behind Ohn Scoggins. We made sure to catch up with Ella Hansen and find out just what is working for her this week.
I was feeling good. I made some solid like windy putts and early in the round, and that definitely helped build the confidence up. Yeah, I was getting good birdies, pretty much converting on all of my birdie licks from circle 1, which felt great, and then scrambling well. Yeah, everything except for 18 was feeling really solid. It's hard to read the wind. You know, it's not just windy, but it was pretty like swirly and switchy, and you know, there were certain times where I was like, I think I have a wind read, but wasn't fully confident just because things were kind of switching. And had my shot on hole 9 was one of the wildest air drop and back up and back down shots I've ever thrown. So yeah, it kind of is like a little bit of just making sure I'm trusting myself, and also that like I'm doing the work to actually feel like I have a good wind read and then trust that as well. I mean, I think with a tournament like this with 4 days all on the same course, there's a lot of holes that are easy to birdie and also easy to mess up. So just making sure that I'm trusting myself, playing my game, not getting too caught up in like, oh, I moved up a spot and now I'm solo second or whatever, like just trying to keep putting together solid rounds and not really worrying about the scoreboard until I might need to.
Brian, Ella Hansen successfully scrambled 6 separate times yesterday, managed to overcome OB strokes or being well out of position, and card nothing worse than a par half a dozen times. That bodes well, especially today, given that the winds are down, yes?
Oh, definitely. And I think for Ella, she is using her distance wisely right now. I mean, she is stuck 17 shots inside circle 1 for birdie. I mean, she's number 1 in C1 in regulation, and giving yourself a C1 look for birdie half the time, that's amazing. And that's something that if she continues on for the next 2 rounds, she's going to be hard to beat, especially if the putter does pick up. And with these wind conditions a little bit calmer than the past 2 days, it's only going to do well for Ella. She's throwing the mid-range on holes that other players are not able to throw the mid-range on. I've heard a few players on different cards throughout the week kind of talking about Ella's decision-making on certain holes. The word is getting out that she is using her distance to her advantage out here. Hole number 16, for example, when she stuck it with a mid-range, she's doing it on hole number 5. I mean, there's just multiple situations where she's able to throw something much more controlled and much more in her comfort zone rather than having to stretch out something fast.
I credited Ella Hansen for moving up the leaderboard in a big way. Someone who moved even further, the player that is just one back of Ella, Holland Hanley, up 6 spots in round number 2 alone. She was just 1 under par for round number 1, bested that by a considerable sum, going 6 down yesterday. Holland Hanley is well positioned for a podium finish, or perhaps even better. Let's hear from Holland.
Yeah, it was kind of weird today. I didn't really feel like I was at 100%. Still just feeling some stiffness and not quite getting the pop on the disc during my warm-up. But then, I was talking to my caddy coming off of hole 3, and we're like, well, you don't really have to feel good to play good. And I think that's kind of what today was. No, I would say it's almost expected that you're going to get some bogeys when the wind's like this, especially those downhill shots. A lot of times, almost every hole actually, you're at the tee box and you think the wind's doing one thing, it's doing something completely different in the middle, and then something even different at the pin. So it's kind of expected that you're going to leak a stroke here and there.
Nonetheless, you put together a great round and you finished with a birdie on 18, which is one of the toughest holes. How important is it to come off the course with that good feeling?
It's super important. I mean, the way you finish like the last 2 holes can really just kind of determine your mood for the next day, or for the rest of the day, excuse me. So yeah, it feels good to get that birdie, and I know I'm gaining strokes with that being such a hard hole.
Well, after shooting a 6 under par round here at the Toboggan course, Brian, it's a tough ask, but is there anything that Holland Hanley needs to be doing even better if she wants to make a run at this championship?
Well, she needs to capitalize a bit more on some of the great throwing that she's displayed the past 2 rounds. She's number 1 in C2 in regulation. She's giving herself a lot of long putts, but she's missed 10 circle 2 putts. She's only made 1 of them over 2 rounds. So she's giving herself a lot of opportunities, just not cashing them. Again, like I said with Ella, the wind is down today. So you're giving yourself looks, and now it's going to feel a little bit more like you're putting inside rather than you're having to beat these crazy elements. So if she can keep putting herself inside, 50, 60 feet, a few of those jump putts that she likes to throw are going to drop in. It's going to give her a bit of an advantage.
Despite throwing out of bounds 5 times yesterday, Kat Merts played well enough to stay on the lead card, so she'll be part of that final foursome later on this morning. You never turn down an opportunity to hear from Kat Merts after a round.
I wasn't really expecting it to be this windy, but whatever. I went out there and it happened. Some things happened. Some things did happen. Bogeys, birdies, back and forth. It's not my first time, not my first rodeo. So I just try to lasso the chaoticness of the wind out here. If it's the right way, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to throw this hard as I possibly can. and hopefully it works out. And it kind of did a little bit today. I had some funky things happen with my Frisbee. I was like, oh my God, the thing was like hyzering out. How did it just go right all of a sudden? It was wicked today, Brian.
Is there anything decision-making wise that you're going to change?
No. Maybe just eat some breakfast and chill out. I don't know.
What's the go-to breakfast?
Chia seed pudding. I really like chia seed pudding a lot. It's easy too, and it's easy on my stomach, and I don't feel like I got bubble gut halfway through the round. It's hard to eat so early in the morning, so sometimes I just don't, but I don't think it's good. I get too cranky.
You certainly don't want a cranky Cat Merts halfway through the round, that's for sure. Cat, sort of a mirror image round to some of those we've already discussed. She had about a half a dozen scramble opportunities yesterday and was only successful on one of them. That's where a lot of bogeys and even a double came from for Cat Merts. It's obvious where she needs to clean things up, but is there any part of her game where she can try to claim an advantage and move up in any way today?
I think it's the same as the previous two that we talked about, capitalizing on the great throwing. I mean, she's third circle 1 in regulation, third circle 2 in regulation, second in park jobs. I mean, she's thrown the disc fantastic, as she always does. But total, circle 1 and circle 2, she's missed 15 opportunities to cash in a birdie. So I think Kat's obviously got what it takes. But this is just going to be the same thing I said before. It's more level today. The playing field is leveled. The players with that kind of push-putt style like Cat Merts has going to have a big advantage putting in less wind conditions.
There is a chase card, and I would expect at least one of them, if not several, to have an opportunity to move up today. They'll be led by Missy Gannon. We know what Missy is capable of. We'll talk about the chasers after this break on the Disc Golf Network.
Feeling great starts with a great shave. Today, the world is in the palm of your hand. Or at least this can is. For over 100 years, Barbasol. It's a can of can-do.
Tournament Central is at Discraft's Great Lakes Open, and Brian Earhart is on the ground with the PDGA's Matt Rothstein.
Matt, just like the previous day before, I mean, you were out in the ground doing interviews all day, talking to the players after they came off of a pretty chaotic day out there at the toboggan. What did you gather?
Well, you know, the thing I was looking for yesterday was how is Ohn going to respond to the situation. You know, she's a veteran of the tour, but yesterday was the first time she had a solo lead in an elite event, so it was really interesting to see how she responded. How'd she respond? She shot the hot round. So she's going to show nerves. She hasn't shown them yet. I think today's a big day for the field to try to close that gap, because if Ohn has a 5-6 stroke lead going into tomorrow, you know, I really like her chances. We haven't seen this too much on the Pro Tour, but from the Masters side of things at majors, we've seen Ohn as just one of the most confident closers that we've ever seen on the women's side. So if she walks into Sunday with 5 strokes in her pocket, I like her chances.
Well, I was going to say the same exact thing. It seems like she carries so much confidence with her all the time and doesn't really worry about if she loses. She only cares about taking down the victory. And with that said, if she can take down a victory this week at D-Glow, that's going to carry some wonderful momentum into the next big tournament that we have, which is a PDGA major at the World Championships. With that said, we finally got the word out about Worlds in Vermont early enough. People are booking their flights to come out and spectate. Are there more spectator opportunities available?
There are. There's still tickets available. So I'd encourage everyone to jump on that as quick as possible if you're interested to go see one of the biggest tournaments, maybe the biggest tournament of the year in one of the best venues at disc golf, Northern Vermont, Smuggler's Notch. I've never been there for disc golf season. I've been there to ski. It's beautiful up there. I'm super excited. I'm bringing my whole family out there, my kids, my wife, my parents. I encourage everyone who has the opportunity to do the same. So jump on dgpt.com/tickets. It'll lead you to the Eventbrite ticket site and grab your tickets ASAP.
Well, I can attest to what he just said. It is absolutely beautiful up there at Smuggler's Notch Resort. So much to do, even if you're not playing disc golf. It's just a wonderful place to be. With that said, back to you, Grant. Take it away.
Thanks a lot, guys. We do have some chasers that will be taking the first tee here momentarily, right after Tournament Central transitions over to the main broadcast, in fact, and big money Missy Gannon will be leading that charge. Missy has had a very solid tournament thus far at the Discraft Great Lakes Open, has sort of been treading water in that position just outside of that lead foursome. Needs to find something to shoot a little bit more under par. So far, her best under par effort has been a 3 under par in round number 1. Dropped off a little in the winds yesterday. Today seems to be a situation where the conditions and her experience set up very well for Missy Gannon's prospects of moving up into that final foursome. Brian, what do you expect to see out of Missy Gannon today?
Man, I keep looking at the statistics, and it seems like all of these players chasing down Ohn Scoggins have the same homework to do. And let's get the Circle 1 putting back on track, make a few more Circle 2 putts, and capitalize on this great driving. Yet again, Missy is tied for third place Circle 1 in regulation, tied for second place Circle 2 in regulation, but is 20th in Circle 2 putting. Just not capitalizing on the long bids, getting those bonus strokes. She's throwing the disc great, 5th in birdie percentage. She's doing great in scrambling. It's just the short game right now. And I think maybe that was because of the conditions, and it was just hard for everybody. But clearly, Ohn Scoggins was not phased. Watched her hit so many difficult edge of Circle 1 putts with ripping crosswinds. And those are the separators. And you know what? When there's bad weather, players like Ohn rise to the occasion, and all of those thousands of putts that she puts in before and after her rounds are paying off in that regard.
The biggest mover on day number 2 was Maria Oliva. Thanks to a 5 under par effort, she jumps up 12 positions in the field. Brian, some of our viewers might not be as familiar with Maria Oliva's game, so how would you break it down for them?
She absolutely crushes the disc. She prefers throwing kind of a flat to flex line with an overstable distance driver, which again out here is pretty great. I mean, with those swirling winds we had yesterday and the kind of unpredictable weather we had in round 1, that can only serve as an advantage for Maria Oliva. But she kind of has the full package. She's been out here on the road all season long, grinding it out, and was doing it last year as well. She's got the mid-range game. She's got the hyzer flip if she needs it. She can throw really far and straight. Really, this season, it's been putting. It's been very up and down. She has a great putting stroke, too, so it's really just a feel thing, and that happens with professional players. Sometimes you have a great weekend, sometimes you don't have a great weekend. But right now, Maria is putting it all together, and of course she rises up the leaderboard. She is so talented at what she does.
My PDGA radio co-host, Jennifer Allen, is coming off of a breakthrough victory on the Silver Series earlier this year in Oregon, is in contention here yet again on the chase card. A popular place for Jennifer this year, looking to move up now into that final foursome for the last round. Jennifer has a game that might sort of call to mind Holland Hanley's, Ella Hansen's, a game that's based on power, and I'm guessing yet again what she needs to get on track is some of that putting. Would you agree?
Yeah, Yeah, yet again, I think it's the short game. She looks like she's been having some struggles with the scrambling. With the circle 1 putt, she's missed quite a few. Circle 2, she hasn't quite dropped that many. Overall, though, I think everything can improve for Jennifer Allen. It's not like she's completely struggling in one category. It's just a few mistakes, here and there that have cost her those strokes over the past 2 rounds that have kept her from battling it out with Ohn Scoggins.
Let's pause right here for a moment, Brian. We've now mentioned half a dozen players that need to get that putting on track. I know the wind yesterday was certainly a factor in that, but is there something else about the greens here at the toboggan course that look on camera to be so wide open? I would suspect that a lot of them have a lot more slope than what comes across on camera, and perhaps that's part of what makes these greens a little bit of a challenge, yes?
Well, and again, we look at the putting percentages, and a lot of those missed putts could be layups on these sloped greens. I mean, it's hard to know if they've actually given it a firm and confident bid on every single one of these greens because of the rollaway potential. We've seen just some terrible results after missed putts, hitting the ground and rolling 70, 80 feet out of bounds. So, again, we say that, yes, they're 24th in circle 1 putting, but they might have laid up 6, 7 times. So, with that said, even if you are laying up, the leader of the tournament is not doing that, and they are running those putts confidently. They are beating the wind, and they are making these really aggressive putts. And these days in the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you kind of have to do that if you want to take those extra strokes in the field.
Alexis Montejano has surged of late on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I'm curious, Brian, what is it that has improved so much in her game, or at least that has gotten so much more consistent of late, that has put her on the leaderboard so much more often?
Well, it's so funny. I talked to Val, her sister, and Val doesn't seem surprised. She just seems really proud that Alexis is putting together the scores that Val has always believed her to be able to shoot. Val, in a way, reminds me of an Ohn Scoggins. Just a phenomenal, confident putter that just needs to play safe and just put the disc in play. It's not like she's throwing 60, 70 miles an hour, but she throws straight really well. She's got a great sidearm, and as long as she sticks fairways and keeps her OBs down, I mean, of course she's going to be up here. She is one of the best long putters in the division, and if you can just get your C2 and regulation stats up and stick more greens and give yourself more opportunities, that putting stroke is going to carry her a very long way. So I'm very glad to see her in the position that she's in.
Lucky the Reds tied with Alexis Montejano and Jennifer Allen, but will play from the 3rd card. Lucky's been playing very well of late. Fell off just a little bit yesterday. It sounds harsh to phrase it this way, Brian, but what began to go wrong in round number 2 for Lucky?
From my outside perspective, it just looked like a couple of wind reads that went sour, and there were a couple discs that she was pulling out that you could tell she knew them very well, but when you release them in these unpredictable winds, sometimes the wind can carry you in a direction you're not expecting, and a few of those times it burned over into a really bad spot and caused her a lot of extra work. And out here at the toboggan, if you're giving yourself a lot of extra work, you're having to get into these Russian olive bushes and having to scramble, it's really uncomfortable and it's exhausting. So having to hike this course and scramble out of the rough, it's not a good combination. So from my perspective, that's what went wrong. But again, some of these discs that were flipping over yesterday are going to fly beautifully today. So I think she has an opportunity to really bounce back.
After this break, we break out the crystal ball and look ahead even further to this afternoon's MPO field and what has been happening and what could happen today here at Discraft's Great Lakes Open. We'll see you on the other side.
What makes the Halal Guys so deliciously different? You might have heard of our famously long cart lines that NYC fans happily stand in. Today, with over 100 plus restaurants across the globe, we are your place to experience authentic American halal. Enjoy our delicious falafel, Euro sandwich, platters, and sides topped with our famously flavorful white and hot sauces. Order online today and taste how we make different so delicious. The Halal Guys, bringing something deliciously different to the table.
You shot 600 par today, so 2 strokes worse than your round yesterday, which was the hot. Are you surprised that you're tied for the lead right now with 600, or did it feel pretty good?
I think it felt pretty good. We were definitely doing what we needed to do out there. We may have missed a few holes, but with the wind and having that 3-stroke buffer over the tie for third yesterday, I think that it doesn't surprise me.
Well, Brian, the field a little tighter at the halfway mark over on the MPO side, but out in front, Eagle McMahon and Kevin Jones. They had matching hot first rounds. They had matching round number 2s as well. It's like a couple of prize fighters trading blows. They're both playing very, very well, and it almost feels like a situation where if the two of them get focused on each other, perhaps somebody from deeper in the field could take advantage of that focus. But for now, what is it about Eagle and Kevin that's putting them out in front?
Man, you know what I have to say? It's interesting to hear Eagle say, you know what, 600 par, I'm super satisfied with that. That just goes to show you how much these players are respecting the course and the way it's laid out this year. Again, I've never heard so many professional players praise added OB and then demand more OB on this course. It just goes to show how good these players are getting, and Kevin and Eagle right now are playing the way they're supposed to play. I mean, it's not like they're doing anything spectacular, but they're putting their shots in play. They're not going out of bounds that often, and they're putting well. I mean, this course just forces you to, first off, get it in play. The second shots are a little bit easier than the first, and that's, to me, the formula. And, again, they went 8 under, 6 under. It's not like they're shooting 12-12. They're respecting the course. They're taking their shots when they need to take their shots, and they're staying conservative when they need to stay conservative. I mean, and I think that's the whole point of this course. You have to show restraint in certain spots.
Brian, the wind is down, and we've got a couple of players with over-the-top power, especially Kevin Jones with his infamous grenade. Is today a day when we should let all the catch cam men and perhaps even some members of the gallery go and find those thrift store football helmets and put those on for protection?
Well, he came up to me on hole number 16 as he was throwing this putter, and he said, you know, Brian, in practice, I was throwing this giant grenade over the left side with something flippy, and he kind of laughed, and I was like, are you doing that now for me? And he's like, absolutely not, and especially now that they've turned it into an island. But I think we're seeing the players give this course more respect. I don't think we're going to see anything wacky like that from Kev today.
The FPO Chase Card is moments away from teeing off right here on the Disc Golf Network. Tournament Central will be back after the round to summarize what happened and to look ahead to the MPO afternoon. Until then, I'm Grant Zellner for Brian Earhart. We'll see you down the road. Thanks for watching Tournament Central.